Hello all Elite members and welcome to another roster review. This week I've got a special one for you. It's a pretty simple list. It is Blood Angels and Space Wolves, as you can tell by the big two codexes I've got next to me here. It is a pure Dreadnought army. It is Blood Angels Dreads and Wolf Dreads only. Nothing but Dread models in these army, which is absolutely awesome. And just before we get into the list, I would like to remind you, using the link right down below, you could also submit your list to be reviewed right here. And who knows, maybe it'll be on next week. So let's get straight into it. The first section is the army list itself. So it starts off with a Space Wolves Vanguard detachment. Of course, big boy Bjorn right down there. Bjorn is the warlord of the army. He has a twin las cannon. And of course, his warlord trait, if you take him as your warlord, is the Aura of Majesty. So it adds 3 inches to his auras, including the reroll ones for core units within 6 inches of him. That goes to 9 inches. And then we've got Murderfang, because he is also a beast of a dread. Absolute beast of a dread. There are 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts in the army. In the Space Wolves detachment anyway. They've both got the Macroplasmas. They've both got Onslaught Gatling Cannons, Icarus rocket pods, and 2 Fragstorm grenade launchers each. Then you've got 3 Wolfen Dreads in the army. Each one has got a Blizzard Shield, a Great Wolf Claw, and double heavy flamers, which is amazing. I love double heavy flamers. Absolutely love double heavy flamers, especially on Wolf Dreads. Think it's so cool. Like, really, really cool. So there you've got it. That's 7 Dreadnoughts in the Wolf Pit. Wow. Then you've got a Blood Angels Vanguard detachment as well, because obviously all of the Dreads are just elite. And that starts off with a Librarian Dreadnought. He has Quickening and Wings of Sanguinius as his 2 powers. An extra Warlord trait has been purchased for him, which is Rites of War. And Rites of War means all core units and characters within 6 inches of him gain the Objective Secured ability. Of course, it only works on chapter models, so only the Blood Angels Dreadnoughts there will become Objective Secured. Then you've got another Redemptor Dreadnought in the Blood Angels bit, also armed with a Macroplasma, Onslaught Gatling Cannon, Icarus Rocket Pod, and the 2 Fragstorm grenade launchers, just like the other 2 Dreads from the Wolf detachment. Then we've got 3 Death Company Dreads. So above, we've got 3 Wolfen Dreads, completely armed for combat with 2 Heavy Flamers each. And here we've got 3 Death Company Dreads, completely armed for combat with 2 Furioso Fists each. And then 1 Heavy Flamer and a Melter Gun. So, yeah, you've got a Heavy Flamer and a Melter Gun on these. I mean, I would be very tempted to just take double Heavy Flamer. I think double Heavy Flamer could be more towards what you're gearing for here. But yeah, having Heavy Flamers and Melter Guns just give you some options, I guess. And then you have a Venerable Dreadnought with a Heavy Plasma Cannon and a Heavy Flamer. The reason why it's a Heavy Plasma Cannon is because the Heavy Plasma Cannon costs the least. So that's what you've got there. And that is the list in its entirety. There are 7 Dreadnoughts in the Wolf detachment in total, and there are 6 Dreadnoughts in the Blood Angels detachment. 13 Dreadnought army. So that's the list. Let's have a look at how it works. So let's have a look at how this all works together then. Now, it's pretty simplistic the way that it works, because you want to stay as a ball. The way that the list works is, you know, in synergy, but close synergy. Like, it doesn't really work if half the list sits back or goes to the flanks and stuff like that. You kind of have to synergize as one big unit together, for example. So it's kind of like, instead of thinking about each Dreadnought as an individual unit, you've kind of got to think of them as one big unit together, because that's the way that you want to be going up the board with them. And make no mistake about it, you want to be going up the board with them. So like I said, there are 13 Dreadnoughts in this army. 3 are Death Company Dreads, which are completely geared for combat. And then 3 of them are Wolfen Dreads, which again are completely geared for combat. Murderfang, completely geared for combat. And Bjorn has got a 2-shot las cannon. Other than that, he's combat. And the Librarian Dread as well is just geared for combat. So 4 out of the 6 in the Blood Angel half are geared for combat. And then 5 out of the 7 in the Space Wolf bit are completely geared for combat. So 10 Dreadnoughts in total here are completely geared for combat. Oh, it's even the Venerable Dread. It's got a heavy plasma. Other than that, it's just combat. So yeah, 10 Dreads in this army are geared for combat with a bit of shooting, a little bit elements of shooting, mainly in close quarters as well with all the heavy flamers. So you just want to get up close and personal with the enemy. Then the 3 Dreads, the Redemptors, they can hold their own from long because you've got 3 macro plasma cannons in this army. And when you overcharge and fire them, they're strength 9, -4 AP, and flat 3 damage. So they'll do a lot of damage. They've got 3 Onslaught Gatling cannons between them, 3 Icarus rocket pods, and also 6 Fragstorm grenade launchers between them. They've got a bucket ton of shots. But again, their fist in combat is 5 attacks. They get 5 attacks in combat, and it's -3 AP, and it's D3 plus 3 damage. They do the most damage out of anybody in combat. They've got D3 plus 3 damage. So when you add that on top of all the shooting that they've got, they also want to be getting up close and personal with the enemy, because you've got to remember all of these vehicles here. All of these Dreadnoughts here are vehicles, and vehicles can shoot at things that get within engagement range of them. So you run up the board, you've got double heavy flamer on pretty much everybody, and when you get charged, you can carry on shooting your heavy flamers into combat with the unit you're in and keep smacking them in combat. Now, every Dread here is like 3 damage or more in combat, so you want to get up close and personal with the enemy. And the brilliant thing about this list is you're going to run up the middle and you're going to go onto like 2 or 3 objectives straight away, and then your opponent's going to shift you, but you're going to be going towards their deployment zone after that. You're going to trundle up into their deployment zone and keep going forwards, and just, you know, staying as one big unit that does a lot of damage. But one thing to be careful of is the Librarian Dreadnought's Rights of War ability is only going to work on the Blood Angels Dreads. So the order in which you want to have them placed and stuff like that needs to be a little bit cagey, because they're the only ones that can get objective secured. Objective secured, of course, is massive in the game right now. Having objective secured Dreads would be horrible. And what I would say is you kind of want to move your Blood Angel Dreads in the middle of the bubble. You kind of want to go up the middle, in the middle of the bubble like that. Then you want to have your Wolf Dreads in front of them with the 2 Redemptors, triple Wolf and Dread, and then have Murderfang and Bjorn behind them. And then have the Blood Angels bit going kind of like in the middle of those Wolf Dreads. And the reason for that is you protect the objective secured bubble in the middle, and then round the edges, the Wolves can afford to go around the edges because the reroll 1s that Bjorn is giving them has got a 9-inch range because he's the Warlord. So within 9 inches, they'll get reroll 1. So if Bjorn is also in that middle bit with the Blood Angels, the auras from him are 9 inches, so he's like bubbling out to everybody and they can gain the benefits. So you kind of move them in a clump, hold some objectives, protect your objective secured, and shoot away until you manage to get into the opponent and get into them. A few of the stratagems that are pretty handy for this list that you might want to use. So generic Marine ones, you've got the one where I believe it's called Wisdom of the Ancients, where you can choose a Dreadnought other than a Wolfen Dreadnought or Death Company Dreadnought. So you can't use it on your 3 Death Company Dreads or your 3 Wolfen Dreads. But you can use it on your Librarian Dreadnought. So you can use it on your Libby Dread. Of course, Bjorn already gives reroll 1s. But the Blood Angels Libby Dread, you can put it on him. And it's 1 CP. And it gives all Blood Angels core units within 6 inches of him reroll 1s. It basically gives him rights of battle as well, like Bjorn has. So imagine that. For 1 CP per turn, every Dreadnought in your army can reroll all their 1s to hit, which I think is amazing. That is incredible reliability and efficiency there. So you want to be using that stratagem. Of course, you've got Armor of Contempt. If one of your Dreads is going to take a pounding from smites or something, in one phase you're going to take a lot of more wounds. You could pop that and give them a 5 and feel no pain. Then, of course, you've got only in death does duty end, and you can only really use that on these three guys here. But if one of them is charged and dies before they get to attack, you can use only in death, and they can fight when they die. On top of that, you've got the specific ones. So if you go Space Wolves, of course, you have you've got the +1 to wound. It only costs 1 CP as well because your unit has got less than 5 models in. So it costs 1 CP and you can get +1 to wound in combat. Now, you might think, oh, you know, I've got all strength 10 dreadnoughts. Well, if you hit an Imperial Knight, you're going to get on 3s rolling 1s. 3s with rerolls, but for 1 CP, you can win it on 2s with rerolls, which is almost 100% efficiency when you've only got like 5 or 6 attacks. So I think that comes in handy when you want it, basically. And then if you go over to the Blood Angels bit, the Blood Angels ones have got some really cool ones. So, of course, you've got the, I believe it's called Psychic Might or something like that. And it's a stratagem for 1 CP, and it lets you cast an extra power with a Blood Angel Psyker. Now, he knows Quickening and Wings of Sanguinius, which you're going to want to be doing every turn pretty much. But you can Smite on top of that. For 1 CP, you can just keep doing Smite every turn as well. So in those couple of turns, 2 to 3 turns in the game where you think you need to cast all 3 powers, it's only going to cost you 1 CP to do that, which is absolutely awesome. Then you've got strats that affect specifically just any Death Company unit. Like you've got Forlorn Fury, so you can move one of your Death Company dreads before the game, which is quite powerful. And of course, you've got Refusal to Die, which is a 5-up Feel No Pain for the phase when a Death Company unit from your army takes damage, and it's just a Death Company unit from your army again. It doesn't have to be infantry. So the Death Company dreads can get 5-up Feel No Pains, which is incredible. So that's how the army list works. That's how it all goes together in pieces. Let's have a look at how we would tackle it. So we've had a look at how everything works there. Now let's have a look at how we're going to tackle the army. So this army, like I said, it's a pretty simple army. Yes, it's tough. And yes, you know, the Dreadnoughts, one big thing to say about them is that -1 damage, the Duty Eternal on absolutely everyone there, they all reduce damage by 1. It makes them very tough and very durable. But there are weaknesses in this list. The first thing to think about, though, is that -1 damage. Because they've got that -1 damage ability, you want to be bringing as many single damage weapons with a little bit of AP as you possibly can. Now, combat-wise, that's pretty easy because there are a lot of armies out there now that can take Lightning Claws, and Lightning Claws are insane. But there are a lot of armies out there that can take Power Swords, and Power Swords have gone up in strength. So pretty much anyone with a Power Sword will be wounding these guys on 5s. And if you've got +1s to wound and stuff like that, you can wound them on 4s. And some units with power weapons have rerolls to wound. So you'll be doing a load of wounds on them, and you'll be going straight through them because power swords are -3. So you'll be putting them on 6-up saves, and each one, you know, they fail is just, you know, well, every 2 they fail is a quarter of a Dreadnought dead, basically. Except for the Redemptors. But basically, it's easy to get the single damage, multiple AP weapons in combat, which is the first way of how to deal with them, because they don't have a counter for that, really. Like, they're going to just smack you back in combat. That's their counter. But, you know, if you're getting the drop on them because you're faster, because that's a big drawback of this army, right, is most of the models here move 6 inches or 8 inches or something like that. They move very, very slow. And if they're only moving that slow and they want to be shooting with their Redemptor Dreads as they go as well, they're going to be hindered a little bit. And that's where you pounce, because most units that have, you know, are good in combat with those kind of weapons are like either like Chaos Terminators that can deep strike in and automatically make their charges with Emperor's Children stratagem, or Zephyrim that can advance and charge, and they can automatically advance 6 if you've got the miracle dice, or they can deep strike and automatically make charges with miracle dice, stuff like that. And then you've got Vanguard veterans from like White Scars who can advance and charge and stuff. So you can be a lot quicker than this with your combat units like that. And something like Lightning Claws would absolutely shred these guys, like no question to even ask. So that is the first way of dealing with them. And like I say, it's a bit harder to do with shooting because there aren't as many single damage -1 and -2 shots. -1, there's quite a lot of, but you need to get some sort of reroll wound mechanic in there, because a lot of the single damage -1 or -2 AP guns that I've seen are all strength 6, like strength 5, strength 6. And if that's the case, it's going to be very hard to kill Dreadnoughts if you're wounding them on 5s. The reason why I thought the combat ones would be better is because a lot of the combat stuff is -2 or -3 AP. So it puts them on worse saves, but also has like reroll wound mechanics built in, like Lightning Claws for Imperium, Lightning Claws for Chaos have all got rerolls built in. Then Zephyrim, they're a squad that rerolls all wound rolls. So that, you have these kind of units that are good at doing it in combat. It's a bit harder to find with shooting, but that's what you want to bring. Single damage, decent AP shots. After that, hordes with objective secured. This army will not be able to deal with hordes with objective secured, mainly because the way that you want to do it is you want to split them. You want to force them to split up. So you just send your objective secured units on the objectives and kind of like split your force in half. You split your force in half and go around playing the mission and the primaries, and these dreads are going to have to decide which way they want to go, because like we said, the three Death Company dreads, the 3 Wolfen dreads, and Murderfang, and the Librarian Dreadnought, those 8 Dreadnoughts out of 13 have only got like 12-inch range guns. Every gun on them is like 12-inch range, so they have to pick which way they're going to go and go with it. And then there's the other 5 dreads. Well, the Venerable dread's only got a heavy plasma cannon, pardon me, and Bjorn has only got a twin las cannons. They've only got like 2 shots each as well. So they're also going to want to just pick a direction and go. So those 10 Dreadnoughts have to go in one way. But then, of course, you've got the Triple Redemptor, which them guys can shoot off wherever they want, like with their shots and stuff, and charge something different. But, yeah, they've still got a limited range and stuff like that as well. And hordes, man. If you've got hordes, they're going to need to, like clamp down on the side they want to go for and go for it. But yeah, there isn't a lot of attacks in this army that can deal with hordes, and especially if you've got like an Orc horde, even when the Flamers get it up close, 2 Flamers off a Dreadnought gets 7 shots. That's going to get like 3 wounds. If you're running on 4, say like 3/4, well, every 2 dreads with double Flamers will get 7 wounds on you averagely. Now, those 7 wounds, when you've got custom force field, 5 will go through. Then you got the Feel No Pain, 4 will go through. So 2 dreads with 4 heavy flamers between them should kill like 4 boys, which is nothing. Imagine how many turns it will take them to kill that many boys. And you've got to remember, the boys are going to hit back as well. And hordes with weight of attacks do go through 3-up saves. And like I say, these guys have only got 8 wounds a model, and they've just got 3-up saves. So weight of attacks will drag them down. Other than that, transhuman style abilities. This army absolutely hates transhuman style abilities. The main reason for that is the macro plasma is your main way of killing elite units. Like 3 macro plasmas from long range, that's 3d6 shots. 3d6 shots is fairly dicey, but it's made up by the fact that they're strength 9. Now, if you could take that away and go, well, you're only winning on 4s. Doesn't matter what you do, what ability, what strength you've got, you're winning me on 4s. That makes them even more unreliable. So you've got the D6 aspect of it, then you've got a hit, then you've got a wound, but you can only wound on 4s now. And then some things like that can have invulnerable saves like Deathwing Knight and stuff. So it makes it very hard for these guys to reliably get their damage through if you have some sort of transhuman style abilities. And the other way to tackle it was go for the Death Company dreads first. and the Venerable Dread. So go for the 3 Death Company Dreads and the Venerable Dread first. The reason for that is the only obsec in the Wolf army. You know, the 3 Death Company Dreads and the Venerable Dread are the only things that can be objective secured. And of course, the Librarian with the Warlord trait. But the brilliant thing about it is, well, actually, no, sorry. The tricky thing about it is that the Redemptors are the things you want to kill first because they're the ones that are doing damage to you from range. The double Wolf Redemptors and the single Blood Angel Redemptor. And that's why I think it's been done cleverly, because those are the ones you want to go for, but the Death Company ones are the ones you need to go for because they're the objective secured source of the army. So remember that if you ever come across this kind of list. So that is how I would tackle this list. There's a few different ways of tackling it. Now, let's have a look at what modifications we could make. So, let's have a look at a few modifications we can make to the list. Now, they're not very big because I like, I really like the basis of this army and how it all works. I think it's great. I think it's brilliant, and it'll be lots and lots of fun to use. The main thing that I would do is I would drop maybe the Icarus rocket pods on the Redemptors so that you can upgrade the Furioso fists on the Death Company Dreadnoughts to Blood Talons on all 3 Dreadnoughts. You want to give them Blood Talons because the Furioso fists are -3 AP, 3 damage, but the Blood Talons are -2 AP only, still flat 3 damage, but they get the ability to re-roll all their wound rolls. I think that's so much better. So that's the main change I would make. That is the main change I would make. It just makes them a little bit more efficient, basically. But there is a second change, and that is that I would add in an anti-horde unit. Now, I know you've got all the heavy flamers. So the way that you're dealing with big stuff here, is by just going into combat. You've got 3 Death Company Dreads that are flat 3 damage, 3 Wolfen Dreads that are flat 3 damage with full rerolls to wound, 3 Redemptors that are D3 plus 3 damage, and then you've got Bjorn, Murderfang, and the Libby Dread on top of that, and a Venerable Dreadnought. So you can deal with vehicles when you get close to them really, really well. And also from range with the twin las cannon, all the macro plasmas, you could do a lot of damage. But the main thing is you want something to help with hordes. I know you've got the heavy flamers and stuff like that, but heavy flamers can be unreliable. You might not get the shots you want. They're not blast. So, and they've got a 12-inch range as well. So you've got all the heavy flamers and stuff like that and the onslaught Gatling cannons to deal with hordes, but you need like a physical presence of one unit that does it better than everything else. And I mean something like the Venerable Dreadnought there doesn't really need to be there. So you could drop that Venerable Dreadnought to add in a unit of like 4 or 5 aggressors, and that would help you out a hell of a lot. I know it doesn't keep to the theme of the Dreadnought army, but they would fulfill a missing role that this list, I think, needs, to be fair with you. So yeah, that's the way that I would modify the list. Just those 2 changes, nothing else. Other than that, I really love the list. Now, just remember before we go, guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you would like your list to have a chance of being reviewed, it's no guarantee. It's just have a chance of being reviewed, then please submit it using the link just below. And who knows, maybe you'll be on next week's roster review. And until next week, people, see you later.